Hey everyone, usually I'm on here talking crap about the left, but today we have a topic that we need to talk about regarding Donald Trump and his latest craziest idea, because this is actually unconstitutional. No matter how much some of you may want this to be constitutional, this is unconstitutional and can open the door to the Democrats one day targeting groups of people like maybe Christians. If there's determined that there are Christian extremists, maybe they could go after gun rights for Christians or other groups of people like gay people or black people or Mexican people or I don't know. I don't know how many more people, because while it is true that gender dysphoria is a mental disorder, true gender dysphoria and people that are getting treatment, not just for gender dysphoria, but any other underlying mental health issues, and their treatment is successful, they can function like normal, healthy people, mentally healthy people in society. There are a lot of them, quite frankly. And the problem is, like I've said in past videos, especially regarding the most recent one about the Minneapolis shooting, is that a lot of the people that are being treated for gender dysphoria these days, or their gender identity, whatever they want to call it, don't actually have that. Or they have that, and they also have other severe underlying mental health issues that are not being addressed. And a lot of these people just stop showing up to the clinic. They don't go in for psychiatric treatment, whatever, and then they lose their minds like that shooter did. And that's the problem. The problem isn't necessarily gender dysphoria or trans people. The problem is the underlying mental health issues that are not being addressed because they put the Band-Aid on there. Here's your hormones. Go change your name. Go change your gender and call it a day, instead of actually doing the work to determine whether or not this person has serious mental health issues that are not gender dysphoria, that are not being treated, that need serious consideration, and some of them may need to be deemed unsafe, But the problem is that those people generally don't go in for psychiatric treatment. So people around them need to be paying attention to what's going on. They need better counseling in the first place. They need better psychiatric help in the first place, not to just slap the Band-Aid on there and send them on their way. That's the problem. Mental health is actually being ignored because this almighty, all righteous transgender ideology is put first and foremost in front of people. And the doctors, the mental health community, probably are scared to question whether or not someone actually has gender dysphoria, or maybe they have schizophrenia, or maybe they have borderline personality disorders, something like that. They're probably afraid to, because then they're going to be called a bigot and transphobic. So we're going to get into this terrible, terrible idea that is just going to go absolutely crazy all over the mainstream media and actually make it look like Trump is trying to take trans people's rights away, because that's what this is. You cannot take a group of people and decide to take the rights away from that group of people. Just like I talked about gay marriage, how that's never going to work. This is not going to pass the Supreme Court either, I hope, because if it does, if it did, and it is going to be met with legal issues, obviously, if this did pass the Supreme Court, that would literally open the Pandora's box into taking rights away from certain groups of people. And that, my dear friends, is unconstitutional. Okay, so in the wake of the Minneapolis Catholic Church shooting, senior Justice Department officials are weighing proposals to limit transgender people's rights to possess firearms, according to two officials familiar with the internal discussions. The talks, described as preliminary in nature, appear to build on an idea that has gained some currency in conservative media since the Minneapolis shooting that killed 2 children and injured 21, most of which were children, at Annunciation Catholic Church, an attack that police say was carried out by a 23-year-old transgender woman who regretted transitioning and realized that they could never be a female. See, these people are being brainwashed. They're being brainwashed into truly believing that this transition is going to fix everything. They're suffering from anxiety, depression, severe depression. And then some of them have signs of borderline personality disorders or worse. And they're being treated by the LGBTQIA2S+++ mafia as if this is some type of a gift. It's a gift. You're special. You're better than everyone else. If you do this, everything's going to be sunshines and literally rainbows. And then they do it, and then years later they realize it didn't fix anything. And a lot of them are left with these mental health issues they don't know how to fix, and they feel like they just tried the number one thing to fix them and it failed. So what now? I'm going to go unalive myself. Like, this is not a cure-all. This is not a cure-all. These people are being brainwashed. Such a move would represent a dramatic escalation of the Trump administration's fight against the rights of transgender Americans. That's actually true, okay? I agree with everything that he's done so far, but this, Trump, dude. President Trump has issued a series of executive orders on the topic, including one barring transgender people from serving in the military, which I understand because it's a mental disorder, and there are other mental disorders that you are not allowed to join the military if you have. And another ordering federal prisons to move transgender inmates to facilities corresponding with their gender assigned at birth. I agree with that one too, because they were SAing women. Women were getting pregnant in prison because these straight men pretending to be trans women, a lot of them with past SA convictions, judges just decided to put them in the prison that they asked for, and they were SAing people. Yeah. So that's not really a right. You do have, every individual though has the right to bear arms. So you cannot take that individual's rights away just because they're trans. You can't do that. That's actually unconstitutional. I've never said that about anything that Trump has done so far during this administration. But Justice Department leadership is seriously considering whether it can use its rulemaking authority to follow on to Trump's determination to bar military service by transgender people and declare that people who are transgender are mentally ill and can lose their Second Amendment rights to possess firearms, according to one justice official. Another Justice Department official cautioned that any such proposal, should it gain steam, would likely run into legal complications. Yeah, millions of Americans have mental health issues and many take medications, but are not a danger to society and therefore cannot have their rights infringed upon. Yeah, you would have to prove that the majority of trans people are insane and want to unalive people and take people with them. And that is not true. While there is a pattern, because these people are being brainwashed and fed fear-mongering mainstream media material and Democrat propaganda, that's not the majority of them. There's over 1 million of them. We don't have 1 million school shootings going on by trans people. Like, at some point, we need to use some common fucking sense, all right? While there is a pattern, a mental health pattern, it doesn't mean that trans people as a whole are dangerous, okay? There are some that are dangerous. There is propaganda that is dangerous. There are trans people holding guns and threatening to shoot people on magazine covers. That's true. There are trans people and non-binary people carrying out school and church shootings. That's true. That's a pattern. But we can recognize the pattern and also recognize that that's not most trans people. So we can't identify this group and take away their rights. We can take away whatever they consider rights that infringe on other people's rights, like being in women's spaces. Biological men do not have a right to be in a woman's space. Biological men do not have the right to play in women's sports. Okay? So while we can say that no individual has a right to serve in the military, that's a privilege. So we can recognize all of these things as separate things, okay? And we gotta use common sense now. All right, we can't be like the other side. The vast majority of mass attacks in the US have no connection to transgender people. Still, after the deadly shooting last week, some conservative allies of the president quickly claimed that gender dysphoria, the psychological distress and discomfort some people feel when there's a difference between their sex assigned at birth and their gender identity, is a mental illness that should bar citizens from purchasing firearms. That's like saying that anyone with severe depression who's on SRIs or whatever it is. I'm tired. I hope you can't tell through the camera, but I just told you anyway. That would be like saying that anyone on SSRIs, say I got it, should be deemed unstable and have their Second Amendment rights taken away. You can't do that. That would like, I have anxiety disorder. I have to take medicine twice a day for it. That would be like saying I can't have my gun because I have anxiety disorder. So I'm a danger to society and I can't protect myself. That's ridiculous. There are trans people that do function. Okay. If you don't watch Blair White or if you don't watch Buck Angel, I know Buck Angel has a rocky past. Okay. He's not ashamed of it, but that's not happening anymore. If you even know what his rocky past was and what he used to do. But these are two stable individuals, and there's several others online as well. Very stable people, because they not only get treatment for their gender dysphoria, they also get treatment for underlying mental health issues, and they also understand their biology and that it can never change. And they understood that from the beginning of the process. That is the vast difference between what gender affirming care used to be and what it is today. There's a huge difference. The goal of the potential ban, according to the justice official, is to ensure that mentally ill individuals suffering from gender dysphoria are unable to obtain firearms. Okay, that's obvious. Because gender dysphoria is included in the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistics Manual of Mental Disorders, also called the DSM, it is diagnosed as a mental disorder. The DSM, well, depression is in there, anxiety disorder is in there. There's several others that are in there, which you also, regarding the military, you can't serve if you're taking medication generally for those things. The DSM is the handbook. We know what it is. But the gender incongruence, having a gender identity that's not the one assigned at birth, isn't what makes gender dysphoria a mental disorder. Having clinically significant dysphoria around the incongruence is what makes it a disorder. The Justice Department, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, has launched a broad effort to target gender-affirming care across the country, including sending more than 20 subpoenas to doctors and clinics who have provided transgender medical procedures to minors earlier this summer. Good. Minors should not be receiving gender-affirming care. Psychiatric care? Sure. Don't give them hormones. Don't give them puberty blockers. And don't allow them to mix match bathrooms, because there's also been transgender youth essaying girls in the school bathrooms. So we have that too. Is that all transgender people? No, it's not. Both can be true at the same time. And then it just says a couple other things down here that's not really relevant. We get the point. Y'all, like I said, this would open a Pandora's box to taking Second Amendment rights away from various different groups of people that Democrats don't like. So if Gavin Newsom, God forbid, this would be the apocalypse, the sign of the apocalypse. If Gavin Newsom were to win the presidency in 2028 and decide that he wanted to ban all Christians from having guns because they're extremist, violent religious groups, then he would potentially be able to do that if the Supreme Court allowed this to go through, which I'm not expecting to happen. So that's why it's so important that we have these three branches of government, because at times each president does get a little crazy. And this is Donald Trump's moment today, and he needs to stop it, because literally all this is doing is giving plenty of ammo, excuse the pun, to the left to actually print a real story about a proposal that's unconstitutional. Okay. This is a proposal that is unconstitutional. I don't even know what else to say about this. This is too far. This is too far. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think about this? Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more material, and I'll see you on the next one.